Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. Welcome back to the big show. So we're finding out more about the Donald Trump assassination attempt. Here it's been over 2 weeks now. And I just saw for the first time this morning a video that I had not seen previously. And so we're learning more. And in this new video, you can see there's someone behind Trump to his left. And so they are looking at Trump with their cell phone video, but it happens to be at the perfect angle to where you can see the shooter goofing around on the roof over there. And I know 100 yards sounds like it's pretty close, but boy, when that video, it looks ridiculously close. To help make some sense of this, my next guest, Robert Caltabiano, is coming back on the James Show. Now, he's a former Secret Service agent, and look, to the layman, it seems insane that a guy can get that close with a gun for that long, still be able to set up and get off 8 rounds. I mean, that just seems not even possible, Robert.
No, and in today's world, we all would think, something that is not possible, unfortunately, becomes possible. At the end of the day, I said this earlier this morning. In my view, the Secret Service has a cancer, and they need to look for now the chemo that will end this cancer. And unfortunately, right now, I think it's just growing.
Well, I think worst case scenario is if the Secret Service was in on it and they were trying to get him killed, but it seems like they're just wildly incompetent. And yeah, some untrained 20-year-old loser gets on a roof and is able to squeeze off some rounds at a president from pretty close. That's just how incompetent they are. Is that what you see?
Well, it's a culmination of, I think, a lot of things, and we've talked about it on your show before. I think it was the lack of the support that they needed, even though I heard that the deputy director yesterday said they got the support they needed. I'm going to disagree with that. The experience, which, is hurting a lot of people in law enforcement, and obviously then the communication gap. And when you put those three things together, unfortunately, it leads to a catastrophe. And that's what we saw. I saw that video that you were just talking about. It boils me up. The fact is how this person obviously was crawling there, but it goes back to the lack of communication and, unfortunately, the gaps in the preparation for that security event.
Dan Bongino comes on before me. He's a former Secret Service agent as well. I have heard him on multiple occasions say that people that still work there that talk to him say that there's going to be more information coming out that will change the story still. Are you hearing similar stories?
Yeah, there's a lot of internal, when we're retired people, we get people that will give us, the scoop on the inside. That's, how normal it normally is. The thing I want to stress to all our listeners out there, we're going to get drips for a long time. And it's kind of expected. I want everybody to understand that the FBI is not going to be very forthcoming on many things. That's how they are. The Secret Service, what they call their mission assurance now, used to be called what we called inspection division. They're going to go out there. The unfortunate thing is whether they're going to sugarcoat it too much for the public to understand. And I think this is too big of a deal. Obviously, they need to trust the public and be able to put that information out there. I just don't think we're going to get it.
Well, look at how much gray area and clouds of speculation still surround the JFK shooting, and that happened, more than a decade before I was born.
Absolutely, and I think that, we could talk about this a year from now, and I almost guarantee you there's going to be a lot of gaps in the information. I don't think we're going to know fully. Look, the FBI is having a problem that we know of trying to get into, his apps and his online accounts that he had. And so there's issues there. The Secret Service, with their quote unquote internal investigation, the issue is when you investigate yourself, who are you going to blame? And what are you going to do? And, I know the senators yesterday, Hawley and Cruz, I watched that, and that's what they were trying to say. And the flip side is you just can't fire somebody in government either. It's not that easy. And it's unfortunately, the worst thing about Washington is Washington itself, and that's the problem. That's the crux right there. It's the policies behind the problem.
Right, and I don't know how many answers are actually going to be had if it does bore out to be that it was just some one guy that was a lunatic and we had really feeble security. I think our worst fears are still the less possible scenario, and that's he wasn't acting alone and he may have had some help, whether it was inside our government or not. But we're still under the impression he's a lone actor. Is that your takeaway, Robert?
Yes, and here's the thing is focus on what we're going to focus on tomorrow, the impact tomorrow. As we know, I remember saying this when it first happened, what's going to happen with, say, outdoor events? And will people be comfortable? Now we know the former president wants to go back to Butler, and he wants to do an outdoor event. But, the cat's out of the bag now, and so the Secret Service is playing catch-up now to provide the adequate security necessary. And if you're a terrorist, if you're a bad person out there, now you're picking and choosing to try to see what you can do to wreak havoc. And it is really the catastrophic events are not just what happened in Butler, but the potential for future events if they don't get their act together and do it quickly.
Well, that's interesting. I hadn't heard that Trump wants to go back to Butler and not only just do more outdoor events, but one specifically there. Yeah,
he announced that. I think the Secret Service obviously will do their job because then they don't have the authority to say no, you can't do that. But the fact is now it gives people the same thing would happen with Hinckley is that you have residual effects. Remember, this shooter to me it's an active shooter situation. His mindset is going to be, I think we'll find out, very similar to mindsets of other active shooters. And with that, sometimes that spurs more events. And so we got to be very careful on these events coming up, whether it's President Trump, whether it's the Vice President Harris, or even President Biden. But again, also, we have to look at the visceral hate. And I said this at the beginning, why did this happen? It's easy for you and I to talk about how and the faults, but why did it happen? And my conclusion is that, it's not political, but President Trump has been victimized in so many different ways by so much rhetoric over the years. And when you had the President of the United States use the term bullseye just before this event happened, many things spur people that have mental issues. And so we need to be careful about the future. And if we don't, unfortunately, we could see something like this happening again.
All right, we're about out of time, so just one word answer. The lack of resources for the security detail on Trump, do you think that was more negligence or malice?
I'm looking at it as negligence, and it wouldn't surprise me that it's pure negligence, and I hopefully that's what it was.
Well, I hope that's what it was, because it looks like it was negligence, but by people who do hold quite a bit of malice for Trump too, and that's just a damn shame that we even have to question it these days. Thank you, Robert Caltabiano, for being back on the James Show again.
Absolutely. God bless.
All right, there he is. Nice to talk to a former Secret Service agent at a time like this. Any thoughts from you? Bring them on. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Was Trump's lax security due to negligence or malice? I'm James Parker. This is The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there. Welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. As if this wasn't already the weirdest election cycle of your lifetime, you throw in an assassination attempt, a candidate swap, and start calling half of America weird, and things can get weird, can't they? Your thoughts are welcome on The James Show, 800-288-9227. The question that we were asking today is this terrible Secret Service detail, this terrible security perimeter, the terrible way that a 20-year-old loner loser can get up and squeeze off 8 shots at your president, former president. Is that based on malice? Did the Secret Service do that because they hate Trump, or do they just really suck at their job that bad? 800-288-9227. Let's ask Michael in Dallas. You're on WBAP. What do you think, Michael?
Well, I think you have to call it both of those. If the information that's been available is correct, that they knew about this guy ahead of time, that I'm going to lay malice at the powers that be. I'm going to call it negligence on the boots on the ground. If you saw somebody with a gun on a roof, you take him out before the first shot's even fired. Once the bullet leaves the barrel, you can't call it back.
Well, hang on.
People have the
I get what you're saying, but I need context before I can make definitive statements like that. Because, well, if they knew about him in advance, do they hear about people before every event? And what if before every event there's a list of like 30 people to look out for? Then it wouldn't be that big of a deal if they had heard about a guy and they didn't act on it. Because if that's the most normal thing that's happened, and of the 120 other events that they've worked, out of the list of people, no one ever showed up and tried to squeeze off around or got on a roof or did anything weird. I can understand why people would be complacent about warnings if I know the context, though, and I don't.
Well, and understood, and like I stated, I have to go off and understand some of the information that's being published online, right? And some of the reports that have come out have stated that this guy was on a list, that some information was known about him, and obviously more and more comes out later on down the road, as it always does. But knowing that people are hollering at police officers or Secret Service agents, and they're saying, "Hey, look, there's a guy up here on the roof with a gun."
That's wild, isn't it? Because now
that's where I call negligence.
Right. So now we have a problem, because if it is malice from the Secret Service, well, how do they get the locals and everyone else to stand down? They all don't have malice for Trump. That's probably a pro-Trump crowd, is the local law enforcement guys. So that's one of the reasons I'm still leaning toward just flat out incompetence. And this could be like a DEI hire kind of thing, or whatever it is. I'm still leaning toward incompetence.
Sure, but incompetence runs rampant in our country right now.
In government for sure.
Yeah. So, but we still have to go back and look at the main thing: is the guy was on the roof. He's got a gun. He got 8 rounds off.
That's wild.
We know that we've got boots on the ground and people that know right from wrong. And in my opinion, not a round should have been fired. You take the guy out, you sort out the details after the fact.
And also your attitude makes me think that we probably don't have to worry about this again, because never again are people in the crowd going, "Hey, there's a guy on the roof. Is anyone going to do something?" No, they'll be climbing up the roof them damn selves. Same reason why a plane hasn't been hijacked since 9/11. We all know that. Well, if your plane gets hijacked, even if they have box cutters, go take them down. It's better than letting it go into a building or the Pentagon or New York or whatever. Just we all have to do the Flight 93 thing. And so this may make Trump pretty much bulletproof. I wish I had a better word than that, because no one's ever going to let anything like that fly for a long time till it disappears over like a generational consciousness. Ron in Roanoke, you're on WBAP. What do you think, Ron?
Hey, James, I just want to comment on that one gentleman that he asked, about the reason why this is happening.
Michael?
And yes, Michael. And I found it intriguing that, watching Netflix last night, there's a lot of series about Adolf Hitler now, it seems like, on Netflix. So I ended up watching one. And in that series, they actually made reference to Trump, comparing him to Hitler.
No. I was just watching that last night, too. Oh, were you copy? No, I was looking in your window. That's what it was. But they said, one of the main talking points of the Nazis was make Germany great again. Oh, really? Yeah, what a coincidence.
Not only that, but there was a reference to where they were talking about Hitler, how he liked to retreat to his eagle's nest, and they said that's kind of like his Mar-a-Lago.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That was in there, too. They are just ate up with hating this guy, man, and it's made them. They have just can't stop be clowning themselves in their hyperbole about this guy. Yeah, they didn't hammer too much on the fact that he's a art student dropout and a vegetarian and an animal rights activist and a economic interventionist and like spending programs and stimulus programs and universal health care. Did they? I didn't notice that in the because I'm only on episode 3. He brought the guy who brought the Germans their universal health care system. I mean, that was him. That was Hitler. Very Hitlerian. It's funny that they leave some stuff out. Isn't that interesting? So weird.
Yeah, I just wanted to make that comment. I just found that interesting. It seems like everything you watch now, anything related to Hitler, they have to put some kind of comment in there trying to compare Trump to Hitler, which, with somebody's mentally unstable, that cannot play out well.
And the other thing is, if you've heard movie reviews on this show, almost every week there's another movie coming out where Nazis are the bad guy. There's another Nazi-themed movie. Just a reminder, look at how evil those white, male, straight Europeans can be. Look out for these guys. Well, you run the risk of getting boycotted if you make anyone else the bad guy these days. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, entertainment news with Dallas radio legend Pugs Moran on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.